Welcome. This is a video for Highway Data Management Software Training. My name is Ryan Tudor with Corbin, and I'll be running this training session for you today. Hopefully this video will help our users to better understand how this software works and how to use it properly. So the first thing you want to do, if you have already loaded the software on your computer, you should have an icon somewhere on your system. On mine, it's right here at the bottom. It looks like a little highway symbol, and you want to click on that. You should see it will say Highway Data Management. Let's see if it comes up here. This is what it will look like. First thing you'll notice, you have Corbin at the top, Highway Data Management Software, HDM. That's where the HDM comes from. What I like to do for customers is just make sure they have the current version. To do that, you click on the Help tab here at the top. And then you go down to where it says About. You click About, and then you'll see right here, it'll say version. This is 9.4.3. This is the most recent version. We released this in 2018. This was due to the fact that Windows 10 came out with some updates. And Windows 10, as most systems are operating on now, with their releases, it broke a few things in the older versions of software. So if you're a customer that has 9.3.1 or older software, you'll find that you may have some conflicts and it may crash with Windows 10. If you're using Windows 7 or an older software program, those software packages still work fine. But if you're using Windows 10 and you're having any kind of trouble, you need to upgrade to Windows 9.4.3, which is listed here. Okay. Okay, so one of the first things I like to do is to go in here and check the condition of the batteries. And this is a two-part way of checking your system. Number one, it allows you to check your unit communication status, and number two, it allows you to check your battery status. So to do that, you go over here to your tab, you click Device, and under Device, you check the button that says Retrieve Battery Information. On this page, you actually can select the new NC350 from the drop-down menu. You'll notice on here we have all the other devices we provided over the years, from the NC97 up to the NC350. For this test, we're going to do the NC350. We're going to check the box for Bluetooth, and then we're going to click over here on the right that says Refresh. And what's going to happen, you'll notice in this box right here, it's actually looking for any NC350 that's close by. So what we're finding right now is there's one NC350 close to my computer, and it's serial number 402671. Now I know you're thinking, why does this say NC300? It's just the reference point that we have for the old units. The NC300 is just a designation for the unit. It's the same model NC300 we've made for over the years. The NC350 is when we added the Bluetooth feature on the side, but our engineers here on the internal of the board, they didn't change this designation. So don't let that be a concern. Only the 350s with the Bluetooth are able to communicate this way. The NC300's prior models are not. The easy way to identify those, the NC350 has a blue end cap on one side. So the whole traffic analyzer is a silver aluminum finish, but the NC350 has the blue end cap on one end of it. So it's easy to identify from across the room just by looking at it. So this tells us this is the unit. So we can just highlight that, one click on it, and then click Read. And from here, we should be able to determine what the battery status is on this particular device. So you'll notice here in this window, it's talking to the device, it's setting up communication. The nice thing about the software, it automatically detects and attempts to set up a port for the read. It's invoking the read device, and it says it completed this successfully. It's telling me this device is actually at 4.18 volts, which is very good. And everything looks to be in good shape on this particular device. So at this point, we've got the serial number, which is 402671. The battery status is 4.18 volts. This unit is fully charged and ready to be programmed. So from here, you can close. And that's a way to check the battery status on an NC350 and find out if you're ready to program. All right, the next thing I want to do is go in here and do a retrieve on an older counter, which is an NC300. So to do that, we go and we uncheck the Bluetooth. We select NC300 from the drop-down. We click, and it's going to tell you to hook up your cable. So I'm going to plug in my cable. And just to give you an idea what this looks like, this is the cable that you're going to be using. It's a USB converter cable that we provide here at MH Corbin. One end has the USB connection. The other end is specific to the traffic counter. Now, just to let you know, this cable is backwards compatible. It works with the NC350, the NC300, and the NC200. So if you don't have this cable now and you're using an older, let's say serial or DB9 type of adapter cable for your older computers, I would definitely recommend upgrading to this type of cable. It works very well. It's easy to install and operate. I would definitely recommend getting this cable upgrade, and they can be had for around 200 bucks. Okay, once the cable's installed, you click OK. And let's see what we've got here. Operation failed, see log for details. Okay, this is very common and it happens a lot. Let me tell you what happens here. So it'll say click the log for details. So here we go. We look at the log here. It says did not detect any NC300 devices. Okay, the problem with my particular unit here is I just pulled an old NC300 I had laying on the shelf behind me. This unit has not been charged in quite some time. So what I recommend to customers is that you do a charge on these units for a little while prior to trying to connect to them. But this is a great learning experience here because this happens a lot. So there's two types of ways to troubleshoot a unit. The first way is the very obvious reason here for my failure. My unit has not been charged in months, so it's just been sitting on a shelf. So the lithium battery internal is discharged. It doesn't have enough voltage to wake up, so to speak, and talk to my software. This is a very common problem. To fix it, you simply unplug your cable, plug it into the charger that we provided, and let it charge until the smart charger LED light goes from red to green. When it's green, it means it's fully charged, and then you should be able to talk to it no problem. All right, now let's say the next scenario here, your unit is fully charged and you get this same error. Then that could be simply your driver for the cable has not been updated. A problem with Windows 10 is when it came out, there are new drivers that are necessary for your cable to communicate properly. The NC350 doesn't have this problem because it operates on Bluetooth, as you saw previously. With the NC300, because it goes through the cable, it needs an updated driver. It's possible that I haven't used this system in a while with the cable. I need to update the driver. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so what you want to do is go to mhcorbin.com, our main webpage. You want to click on the tab marked Resources and go to Resources Overview. Once this page loads, you'll notice there's some items here at the top. You want to click the one that says Drivers. And then the first one there is Windows 10. You want to click View. And it pops up a zip file to download. And it says you have the CP210X Windows file that you can download. And you hit OK, and it saves the file. Once it saves the file, typically it's going to go in your download folder, which I've got up here. You check the box, and you'll notice here for Windows 10 you need to extract it. So you click Extract All. It will then pop up a window that looks like this. You hit Extract. You'll see it goes through the process of extracting that file. And then it opens up into a window here. You can double click on this. And then it gives you these options here. Now from here, if you don't know what type of system you have, if it's 86 or 64, that's very easy. You can go down to your search window and you can type in System. So just go into your search window here and type in System. and just open that. When you open it, it will tell you right here under system type, mine is an x64 based system. So based on that, you would go here and you would open this one. Now before you do this, make sure you unplug your cable that goes to your traffic counter. So then double click on this one for x64. And this window is going to say, do you want to allow this to make changes? You say yes. Then it's going to give you this installation wizard to follow. And it's going to start doing its thing, installing the files necessary to update the driver. It shouldn't take very long. It'll tell you that it's ready to use. You hit finish. And that should be it. You can close those out. Close this out. And we're back to here. And now we should be able to go back to our device, retrieve battery information. It's NC300. Again, I can hit read. It's asking me to plug in the cable. I did. And now hit OK. And look, lo and behold, it's reading my NC300. So that's a good check. So here I thought my battery was dead because it sat on the shelf for a few months, but in reality, my battery was good enough for it to check. And here we go. The battery was at 3.38 volts. So the battery is low. It's not fully charged by any means, but it was still high enough to work. Now look, it says it's 5%, so that's super duper low. So we definitely need to charge this battery, but it shows you it doesn't need much voltage at all to work and communicate. So my case was just like most customers. My driver needed to be updated. It's been a while since I've used the cable, but that's the process. It's very simple. You update the driver, you match it to your system, you plug the cable back in, and away you go. So this shows you very simply how to get your cable to work properly with the HDM software. Now we'll start going through some of the features in HDM software. So we'll go through some of the tabs. First tab is the application tab. When you select that, you have properties. We'll go through here. You have paths, vehicle categories, communication, localization. So we'll just click on localization. This gives you your metric setup, so you can have measurements in English, mile per hour, your format for month, day, and year, your time, your language. Unless you want to change it, you can just leave everything here default. So you can just hit cancel out of this, go back to properties, click on your study. You'll notice here in the later version 9.4.3, we have a lot more settings that you can change here for filtering. Filtering is where you can actually change what is captured during your study. This allows you to have a report that is much cleaner, if you will, and you take out data that may not be as important or may skew your data during a study. For example, we have different filters in here for limiting speed. So if you have a speed limiter filter, for example, the first one on here shows you can actually check the box to unclassify any vehicle having a speed greater than or equal to a certain speed limit. So you can check that box and put a number in this box here. You'll notice that we already pre-selected a maximum speed filter for you of 110 miles an hour. You can easily just leave that box checked and change this number here to something else. So let's just say, for example, anything over 75 miles an hour will be declassified and won't be part of your study. I find these filters very useful. For example, if you're doing a study and your mile per hour for that study is going to be 35 miles an hour, I always say anything over 20 miles per hour higher than your study, you probably want to just keep those filtered out. So any vehicle going faster than 55 miles an hour in a 35 mile per hour study, you probably want to declassify that vehicle. It will still count. So if you're doing like an 85th percentile study, or you want to make sure you have that information captured in your study, it'll still do a total vehicle count. So the vehicles will still be counted. However, they won't be classified like the other vehicles. So your report will be a little bit cleaner if there's any concern there. So I like using the filters. It makes your report look a little nicer. It doesn't make the data, I guess, unbelievable. Some of the reasons that you may have higher than normal mile per hour captured, if you don't place these units directly center in the lane, they may not get a clear count of a vehicle or classification of a vehicle because they are magnetic. Let's say if it's in a turning lane, for example, and cars don't hit it square or centered, that could happen. If it's in a lane that's not clearly marked, let's say with a white line on one side by the shoulder and a yellow line in the center, then cars may not go over it properly. Things like that can skew the results of this traffic counter. That's why it's very important to put it in the center of the road, of the lane in the road where the vehicles are going to go over it properly. So what I recommend is using these filters, seeing what you think, which one works for you better or for worse, whether it's a minimum filter, maximum filter, but using these will definitely help for the speed. The length, you can use them if you like. The reverse filter here, this helps if, for example, you're doing a study and a construction project is happening and they're reversing the lanes, or they're letting cars go in the opposite lane at nighttime, for example, where you're doing your study. You can get a lot of reverse vehicles in that application where you didn't count on before. You can simply select this box and it won't classify vehicles in the reverse locations, but it'll still count them as a total vehicle count. So again, there's certain things on here you can check. If you haven't used those in the past, these are now something you can use, you are aware of now that you can use. Lastly on here, we'll go down reports. This just gives you an idea when your study is completed how to get some reports printed out for you. I will let you know that our reporting system is very good on here. It actually gives you the ability to have a graphical representation of your reporting if you like to see that kind of style, or just an alphabetical type of reporting. So if you like a wordy type of report, I guess is the best way to say it, it can provide that for you very quickly. If you like to have the printed type of report like that and a graphical representation, you can easily select what you'd like here by checking these boxes. So you can select multiple boxes or single boxes, whatever you'd like. And then depending on how you'd want that, you can just select it under each one of these categories. Down here, you'll see it says graphs to be printed. When printing the graphs, you select those boxes here, and then you hit OK. So it makes it very nice. I'm a fan of this when I perform demonstrations for customers. This is very much a crowd pleaser, if you will. They like to see these. It very much helps to identify quickly vehicles that came through an area, whether it was a car, bus, or a truck, and the volume. So it really helps kind of drive home what it looks like from a standpoint of a report and how the unit was capturing the data for that particular instance. Moving right along, a couple other things on here. Your fonts you can change. If there's anything on there that you would like to modify, this is kind of like a user preference type of thing. Again, let me move this window over. You can change it right here. So some of these are based on the reports you're using. Some of them are based on other things. Like here are the default bins. We use the standard for the industry when it comes to speed and length bins. You'll notice there's 15 listed here, which is the default. And this is the category that they list them in. So for your bin number 1, it's from 0 to 9.9 miles per hour. Bin number 2 is 10 to 14.9 miles per hour, and so on. You can change those if you'd like. Just be aware that's not the industry standard. Then the length, same kind of thing. We use eight length bins. Here, the first length is 0 to 17.9 feet. The second is 18 to 20.9 feet, and so forth. Okay, I think that went through most of your properties under application. Again, play around with that, see what you think, modify that. Again, the software is designed for you as the user. to use it. Whatever makes you comfortable with it, feel free to change. From here, you have a catalog. Catalog is very important. This is where you actually make your studies go together in one place where you can retrieve them at a later date. So you can have multiple counters, but your counters will retrieve data per counter per unit. Now, let's say you have one counter, it's not very hard to keep up with the information. But if you have more than one counter, let's say you have 10 counters, it can be very difficult to negotiate between which counter was at what location, were they all for the same job, were they different projects or different jobs. So what we recommend is you go into your catalog and you actually create a new catalog. So to do that, you go to the catalog tab and you click new. It's going to pop up a new window for you. Something like this. You'll notice up here in the top, it actually puts in a folder under MH Corbin, HDM software and data. And you can just name the catalog. So we'll just call this a HDM test catalog. You notice the extension down here, it's an MDB extension. Okay. So it's saving it now. And you'll notice on the left here of my screen, under catalog, it now says HDM test catalog. I can slide this over a little bit so you can see it. And again, these are movable links here so you can actually see the name. All right, I don't have any information in here yet because I just made the catalog, right? Okay. So now what we want to do, we want to go over to here and we want to read a study. So to do that, we have to find our device. So what you would do is go to your traffic counter that you just got through performing a road study with. So let's say you have our new NC350 like before. If you're using a cable, great. From here you would hit read and then you follow the instructions to plug the cable in. But if it's an NC350, you have the option of Bluetooth. So you simply click the button for Bluetooth and you hit refresh. Once you hit refresh, if you have more than one NC350, it's going to populate over here in the window and it's going to show you what's close by to you. So here's the unit here. We select that unit and we'll click read. And it's going to read whatever study is on this particular traffic counter. And if you can see my screen here, it's showing the voltage on it. It's attempting to read the study from it. And being that this unit is brand new, it may not have any study data on it for me to read. So it may time out in just a second and say it does not have any study data. If it does not, I'll go to some data I've already have pre-saved and we'll go from there. Okay, the good news is it did retrieve information. See all the attempts here, it retrieved the information, and then it said processing's done, so we can close this. And what's nice is if you look up here in the window, under our catalog that we just made, it now shows the serial number, which was 402671 of my NC350. It shows NC300, which again, that's why I told you, don't worry about that. It's just, it is NC350. It's still called NC300 here in the software. The start and date of that study was November 25th, 2019. The end date was November 29th, 2019. Let me move this over here. It looks like the study started at 10 o'clock in the morning and ended at 10 o'clock in the morning, 4 days later. And let's see here. It looks like they did a test here for, this is like a in-house test they do called Quest in Canada. Speed limit was 24 miles an hour. And let's see, it was completed. So now we have our data in here, which is good. So now what we can do, we can double click on this. And if you had more than one traffic counter, you could do the same thing. You could go to that traffic counter, pull the data, and it would populate everyone under each other. So now that I've double clicked on the counter, this is what comes up here. It is the information from that traffic study. So you'll notice here it shows everything about the study, from the time it started, the period and volume, the speed, the roadway temperature, and it goes through and it shows you that information here. What's interesting about this, up here on the top, it shows you the beginning and end date of the study, the lane, the city, the county, the state, the factor, the counts, and at the bottom it shows you the date that I did this report, which is today's date and time. Now from there, we can click over here and we can say, well, let's see some graphs on this. So let's look at something like vehicle percentage graph. So this is what comes up when you click on the graph. I like this type of graph. It's very easy to look at it very quickly and get an idea of the vehicles. So for example, by looking here at the bottom, you're seeing over 232 passenger vehicles, 97 vans and pickups, 18 trucks and buses, and 18 tractor trailer type of vehicles. So I like this. This is real easy for me to look at the data and say, okay, well, here's what we saw in the 4 days time that it did this study. Let's say you want to see a different type of data. So that was a vehicle percentage graph. Let's see a gap time graph. Okay, so here's another way of looking at it with a different graph. Again, this is all the same data, it just puts in a different graphical form for you. So we can vary the graphs that you are using based on what you like to see. So again, I encourage you to play around with this and see what you like. There's a speed volume graph here. Let me pull that one up. This one's very popular as well. This one's kind of cool. It shows you down here which category as far as where the speeds were the most. So this shows you based on here, the speeds on this one, you had the most vehicles that running between 28 and 30 miles an hour right here. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, and then you go to your report, and this can tell you something what they call the 85th percentile. So if you click on that, it's going to open up a different window. And it may take a second to compile all this information, so depends on how many counts you have in the studies. All right, and here's the 85th percentile report. So if you look at the very top, it gives you kind of an overall, shows you the raw count. There were 2,241 vehicles that came through as a raw count of vehicles in those 4 days. And then this is how the breakdown happened in the 85th percentile. So again, really cool stuff that you can do with this in the reports. There's a lot of choices here for you. The biggest one that you can use, a very easy one, is one called the summary report. If you click on that. This is something, the links don't match the study bins. This is called, we did this report based on an older study. So when you use your latest and greatest software, this shouldn't have a problem. It's just a warning window that comes up, and you can change that in your settings. I haven't changed my settings, so that's part of my deal. If it's annoying to you, you can turn that off. All right, so this is the report I like to use, the summary report. It's a very easy way for the software just to generate a written report for you. And it basically puts everything out there very easy for you to read. It tells you about the study, what it was conducted on. It gives you right here the serial number of the unit. 402671 was the serial number that was used to do the study, the dates it was conducted on, how many total vehicles right here that passed through. Really neat information here. It also shows you the speeds, and right in this box here, it shows you what speeds the categories, the bins basically, and how many vehicles pass through in each category and each speed. And then here's the other classification. So use this to your advantage, whatever you'd like to use and how you want to export it, your graphs, your reports here. And then when you're done, there's two buttons right here at the top. One says export the report, or one says to print it. So if you want to print it, you simply select whichever ones that you want, print them out. Or if you want to export, you click here for export. And then you simply click here if you want it to be like a PDF type of report. You can go to Crystal Report, Excel spreadsheet type of report. A lot of choices here for you, even XML or text file. I typically do like a PDF file for mine. And that's it. Okay, so we're back to here. Again, if you had other traffic counters, you could easily pull those in. They would be under this catalog, and you could run the same kind of reports again with multiple traffic counters for that system, and it would update the report as necessary. If there's any questions on that, just let me know. I'll be happy to help. But that gives you a very quick way how to use the software, how to get your traffic counts off and utilize them. One thing to look at here, if you ever go into your system and you hover over the traffic counter, just do a right click, and you actually have other things you can do from here. So we've tried to make it a little easier for you. So you can go down, you can change some things here. You can batch export, batch print. So just check this out. Here's some other features you may not have known about, but if you right click on the traffic counter, then you have other options you may not have known before. But a few things to be aware of: you have to make a catalog to pull your traffic data in from your counters. Once you do that, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. All right, the next thing I want to go over is when you're actually programming the device for a study. So you go into your unit, you say, I want to program a study. So this is interesting. When you go to program a study, the first thing that pops up here in your drop-down window, you want to select whatever your counter is. So if it's a new NC350, great. You just select NC350, and you can select Bluetooth if you'd like to use Bluetooth instead of the cable, and then we can move on. If you don't have NC350, you have NC300, for example, you just select that. You uncheck Bluetooth because you're going to be using the cable, and then you proceed on. So that's just a few things to think about. Even the older NC200s or 100s, you just do the same kind of thing. So let's just say it's NC350. We're going to use Bluetooth. And immediately when I click that, you'll notice 2 units popped up over here in my window. That means right now my computer can talk to 2 different NC350s nearby. Okay. From there, we can select when we want this traffic study to start. So we can select from here. Today actually is Wednesday, July the 8th, 2020. So we can select it to start later today or tomorrow or sometime in the future. And then we can select it to start at a later time. Now, right now it's 2:49 p.m. East Coast time. So I want it to start at a later time than now. So this is give me the 4 o'clock option. We need enough time to program the unit and put out on the roadway. So you want to select a time in the future, not immediately after when you're going to program it. Once you set your time up, then you can select how many days you want this to run. You want it to run for a week, a day, not even a day, just a few hours, no problem. If you don't want it to run but a few hours, just put the days at 0. Put how many hours you want to run, anywhere from 1 hour to 20 hours, 23 hours, what have you. If you want to run just a solid 2 days, here's where you can change that right here. The binning period is how it puts information in. We normally defaulted at 15. If you want to have more information, set this for less time, such as every 5 minutes. If you want to have less information, set it for more time, such as every 20 minutes or 25. I'd recommend 15-minute intervals. That just seems to be an industry standard most people are using. But again, this is something the user can use and modify whatever they see fit. Next, this is where you can put in as much information as possible to make your reports have more information after the fact. So you put in your state, your city, your county, what street this is on, what location you're calling this, what lane, if it's like an eastbound, northbound, southbound lane, and the speed limit for this area. So if this is a 55 mile per hour zone or a 25 mile per hour zone, what have you, you can select that here. The operator is simply your initials. So mine would be RT, so I'll put RT here. My state is NC, my city is Raleigh, county is Wake, street is Hutton Street, that's here for our office, location is 621, and the lane I'll say eastbound. So this is an idea of what it would look like if you're going to do this yourself. And I'm going to set the study up for, let's say, this afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I want it to run for, let's see here, let's say we run the study for 10 minutes, and we'll bin it every 2 minutes. So that way I should get at least 5 different binning periods, once every 2 minutes, and for 10 minutes total. Okay? And once you've set this information up like you want it, you simply hit program. You have to select which unit you want here. So I'm going to select this particular unit because I know this is the unit closer to me. And then we hit program. And it'll take it a second for the unit to program. Now what it's doing at the same time, you'll see down here, it's attempting to read and talk to the device. It's actually going to check the battery voltage, and it's going to tell me, does it have enough battery voltage to do this study? It looks like the battery voltage is 16%, so that's enough voltage to run for that short study, so we should be okay. If we're going to run a study for longer, the unit would fail and it would tell me why. It wouldn't have enough battery voltage. So it's very important to make sure you charge these units till they're green, which is a good 24 hours prior to programming. One rule of thumb, if you're going to program a unit for a study, do not plug it back in to charge after you program it. So now that I've already programmed this unit, it is successful. I'll hit OK. So now we're ready to go. I'll make sure my unit's set up and ready for this study at 4 o'clock today or prior to 4 o'clock. It'll run for 10 minutes, and I'll take it off the road and I'll pull it in and pull the data from it at that point. So again, rule of thumb, make sure your unit's fully charged 24 hours and has a green light on your battery charger prior to programming. Once it's programmed, do not charge it anymore until your study has been completed. Just a rule of thumb. All right, that's it. If you want to program any other units, let's say you had 2 units for this traffic study and this unit was eastbound, this other unit was westbound, you simply go in here and you put westbound, everything else is the same, and you hit program for that particular unit. And then you'd have 2 units for this project, 1 eastbound and 1 westbound, and it'd be very easy to keep up with them, and I would just hit program. For this test, I was just going to do 1 unit to show you what it looked like. So there you go. Okay, lastly, I want to show you here, there's a help tab. And the nice thing is, if you don't have the user manual, we provide a copy for you here in the software. So you just go to help, click user manual, and a copy of the manual is going to appear right here for you. If you have any questions on the HDM software or our traffic counters in general, feel free to give me a call. My information is listed right here, or you can reach me on my email at rtutor@mhcorbin.com. Thank you.